Set up perfect squares. I'm not going to really teach the whole perfect square method, but I'm gonna help guide you how to notice something is a perfect square, and then be able to use your 5-step method accordingly. Does that make sense? Okay. So our 5-step method says that we need to take the GCF, and then there is no GCF, so we go to the next step, and then we go to the next step. We say, okay, well, that step was 2, which is the parentheses and variable, star variable, and so that's the star parentheses 25x 25x. And then I go to the signs. So this sign comes down, it's minus, and then this sign tells me whether these two signs are the same or different. And in this case, they're the same. So these two signs have to be the same. So they're both minus. Okay? And then I go to the next one, which is product and sum. And this is where people get stuck. They're like, these are some really big numbers. Do I really have to multiply these out? And I'm like, no, of course not. But do you ever notice something about them? I mean, once in a while, they're big numbers. You notice something right away, right? And that one thing you notice here is that this product is 25 times 49. And they're both perfect squares. So if they're both perfect squares, then maybe I can look at them as more, oh, this is really just 5 times 5, and this is times 7 times 7. And then I don't have to, and if it were 6 times 6 because it was 36, then it'd be 2 times, 3 times 2 times 3, or 2 times 2 times 3 times 3. You see what I'm saying? So, in this case, my product is real simple. It's 5 times 5 times 7 times 7. Even though it's pretty complex, it's a big number. But the key thing here is that I need to make a number that adds, in this case. The sum is adding. So I need a number that adds to be this middle number of 70. So two numbers that multiply to be this big number, well, I don't need to know what the big number is. I just need to know what the factors are. And then use all of them. Right? And so when I look at these numbers, I say, well, I can use, when I see two perfect squares, the best way to start with it is to look at two numbers that would make the same number. Okay? So in this case, 5 times 7 plus 5 times 7. You just take one of each of them. All right?
When you're dealing with perfect squares.
Yeah, when you're dealing with perfect squares.
And that will work every time?
If it's a perfect square polynomial.
If it's a perfect square.
And then you double check it, right? This is 35, and this is 35. And does that add to be 70?
Yes.
Boom, then it worked. And that's all I'm looking for. It makes the math a lot easier. Okay? And now I have my star. Remember my star in the very beginning. I didn't write it here, but we want to always write our star, and our star is that first number, 25. So I got to take out a product of 25. 25 is not going to go into both of those, but 5 goes into each of them, right? So I just divide out 5, and I end up with
5x minus 7.
Yeah. So 5x minus 7 and 5x minus 7.
So it's just 5x minus 7 squared.
So it's just 5x minus 7 squared. And here's the thing with perfect squares. It's a little cheat method to test perfect squares. And this is how you do it. This squared is what? this squared is 25x squared, right? And this squared is 49 positive, right? So far they match, right? And then you take, this is the tricky part,
5 times 7.
2 times 7 times 5. And you get 70. And then you take this sign and you bring it down. And that,
Did you figure that out yourself?
no. But that's
I was
the,
gonna say, that's brilliant.
that's what it is. And it's a little trick that you can use to find, it's also a trick you can use when you have to put them back together. Remember when we do the Nicolet method? But we have something that's a square, and this is a trick to put them back together. So, this is something you can think of. I mean, and that's the way they usually teach perfect squares is take the square root of this, take the square root of this, and then is 2 times this equal to the middle number? If so, bingo, you got it. Okay? I was afraid to teach it that way. That's why I teach it in accordance to the 5-step method. So you're still used to the 5-step method. It just makes it a little easier, and you'll see. You'll get. Hopefully, you get the hang of it. Okay, that's perfect squares.